It's so good to see all of you at this tribute for Diann, Morgan, Peyton. I am Jay Glassnap. It's great to see that most of you have a beverage, but it's even better because it's on Dean's dime.
Deep breath. Greetings, I'm Sue Glassnap. It's wonderful, so wonderful to see all of Diann's favorite people in this room. To Dean, you and Diann had an incredible life together. Your marriage taught how it is done. Thank you. To Chris and Allison, you had the best of the best mom. Her steady hand and sense of humor will be with you forever. And Nick, you hit the jackpot with Diann as a mother-in-law. Collins, Lennon, Holden, your Gaga adored you. So, Diann was curious. She was curious about your children, your grandchildren. She was curious about what books you were reading. She was curious about your travels. She was curious about current events. She was also curious of her friends' political beliefs. And we all knew her. Diann was a problem solver. Diann and I planned our first trip to Croatia in 2019. We were really quite proud of ourselves. It became apparent that Dean may have had opinions and questions on some of our plans or dinners or ferry rides, and he would blurt out his opinion. So, before anybody else had a chance to respond, so Diann, being the ever problem solver, invoked the 1, 2, 3, pause. And that meant that we all would count on our fingers, 1, 2, 3, before Dean could speak. which always ended in laughter. We continued the last few years to do that, but I will give Dean some credit. He did have some good ideas. Anyway, welcome and celebrate Diann.
I'm not sure the ideas are that great. This was such a shock to all of us. One of our favorite memories was seeing her paddleboard on the Adriatic Sea last September. I could do this. Well, the rest of us had a cocktail on the boat. As I look around, I know there aren't many of you that would be paddleboarding, but I know that you'd be on the boat with me having a cocktail. Diann was very competitive, would be an understatement. As you read in her beautiful obituary, Diann was leading Dean by 27 points in their nightly card games. She was an excellent teacher. This is my daughter, Kate. Explaining the rules of a number of games. However, she would never share how her strategic moves would win the game. If anybody protested, her response was, "Buck up and get over it." Well, that's my part and I made it. Well, we're going to have some wonderful speakers that are going to tribute Diann, and our first is her family speakers, her sisters Dinah Foss and Michelle Neal. Ladies.
Hi, I'm Dinah. I'm Diann's twin sister. Everyone should be so fortunate as to be born a twin. I've probably known Diann better than anyone in this room, other than, of course, Dean, and I've certainly known her longer than anyone. Not only was she my identical twin sister, but she's my best friend. We grew up with our 8 brothers and sisters on a dairy farm in northeast Iowa, north of Cedar Falls. Growing up, we were pretty much inseparable. We did everything together. I don't recall that we ever really fought, though I'm sure we did. Growing up, we always wanted our dad to buy us a horse. And of course, he said no, they just cost too much money. All they did was eat, and they didn't generate any income for the farm. So at about age 6 or 7, we started riding stick horses. Dad would cut the broom end off, drill a hole in the other end, and put a piece of twine through it. And I don't think we ever walked anywhere on the farm. We rode our stick horses. When we turned 13, we gave them up, thinking that teenagers shouldn't be riding around on sticks. We always dressed alike until about 4th, 5th grade, when we realized that if we didn't, we would double our wardrobe. Being twins was pretty special. And I do believe that we had a special bond that regular siblings don't always have. We looked a lot alike, and people couldn't always tell us apart. And because of that, we had a lot of fun with it. We enjoyed it. We switched classes sometimes in grade school, high school, and we even switched dates a couple times in high school. A downside might be that we were never really referred to growing up as by our individual names. We were just always called the twins. Diann was especially upset by this when Dad always said the twins wrecked the car when I was the only driver. Most of our brothers and sisters played musical instruments in the high school band, but because there were 2 of us, we were told that they couldn't afford 2 instruments. So we were given batons, and Diann and I became twin majorettes of the marching band. That's proven to be a real life skill. Our mom died when we were 15 years old, and Diann and I were the oldest ones left at home, so we were in charge of taking care of the cooking and cleaning, and helping our dad raise our 3 younger sisters. Sorry, Michelle, Lorraine, and Paula. Yeah. After graduation, we both lived at home and commuted to UNI in Cedar Falls, Iowa, and we both hated it. After 2 years, I dropped out, joined Vista, and moved to New York. Diann transferred to Iowa State University. Our siblings, mostly Denny, used to tease us that because we were twins, we shared a brain. Well, we knew that wasn't true, but yet we knew our brains were synced in a pretty special way that twins sometimes tend to have. While in New York, I woke up one morning and I couldn't open my mouth. My jaws were truly locked. I found out later that day that Diann, back in Iowa, had been in a bad car accident, and she had smashed her face up pretty good and had broken her jaw. Throughout our lives, we've had other situations where our supposed shared brains were in sync, but not in quite such a traumatic way. We showed up at our sister PJ's wedding in Los Angeles, wearing similar black and white polka dotted dresses. We met up at the Phoenix airport one time with identical gray and white t-shirt dresses that we didn't even know each other owned. And this has happened many times in our adult life. We both graduated from college, both becoming teachers, both in special education. Diann in Des Moines, myself in Northeast Iowa, and then Wisconsin. We both married great guys, had children, both adopting part of our family. Throughout our adult years, we have remained very close. Our husbands liked each other most of the time, and our children have become great friends. We've taken many vacations together over the years. The Peytons have included the Faust kids in their spring break ski trips to Colorado. In fact, the Peytons are responsible for teaching the Faust kids how to ski. Diann and Dean and Dick and I took multiple backpacking trips to the Rockies, multiple golfing trips to Arizona. We've established many traditions that have continued for decades. Those have included, but not limited to, mother-daughter shopping trips where Diann and I and our daughters would go to usually Scottsdale, Arizona for a long weekend. We've done a sister shopping trip for decades, usually in Minneapolis. We've gone to Des Moines for Thanksgiving for over 3 decades. And Diann and I have always gotten together for the better part of a week every summer at their home in Clear Lake, just to be together. And we would always find things to do, clean cupboards, rearrange the living room furniture, much to Dean's dislike. Froze many quarts of sweet corn, made lots and lots of pesto. Last year we made 2 dozen chicken curry pot pies, and we painted the damn colored deck chairs way too many times. Thank you, Dean, for replacing those. And we always look forward to our Monday morning phone calls. As you can tell, Diann has been a huge part of my life, and I will miss it greatly. I do miss her every day, but I know that I am a better person for having been with her. Everyone should be so fortunate as to be born a twin. Sorry, I'm a little shorter. I'm already tearing up, so it's going to be tough. So, hello everyone, I can't believe this crowd. I'm Michelle, the 8th Morgan child. I'm 4 years younger than the twins. Growing up, I was mostly delegated to playing, I can't look at my daughters. Mostly delegated to playing with my 2 younger siblings, Lorraine and PJ. The twins just didn't need a third. So it really wasn't until I left the farm for college that I began to get close to Diann. So at that point, she had already married Dean, and they had settled in Des Moines. And sometimes on school breaks or weekends, rather than go back to the farm, I would just go to Des Moines. And then I moved to the East Coast, and every time I flew home, it was always through Des Moines. So I ended up spending a good amount of time with them in my 20s and early 30s. So I don't remember a lot about what we did. I remember some Iowa State football games, and I remember we all were learning and decided we wanted to learn to play golf. Diann and Dean helped me vet a number of boyfriends, lent me $500 to replace my total VW Bug at that time, and kind of generally became my support system. When I finally met my husband, Craig, I asked Diann to be my maiden of honor, and she immediately accepted, even though she was going through grueling chemo for her breast cancer at that time. I told her to go buy any dress she wanted, knowing she'd pick out something spectacular. And she did. She picked out a great bright blue dress and this matching big blue hat that covered what little hair she had, and she looked wonderful. So the next year, the 4 of us started a great tradition. We would meet for a long weekend every winter as a way to kind of break up the season. We rarely repeated the destination until we found California wine country. And we decided then that the weather, the golf, the scenery, and the wine were a great combination. And we ended up going to Sonoma for about 6 years in a row, having so much fun. And I'll think of Diann every time I open a bottle of Pinot Noir. Diann was very generous. She took up quilting, and I don't know how many quilts she made of it. Every college freshman, every marriage, every new baby, everybody got a quilt. And my family has 4, and they're all beautiful. As our dad and our stepmother aged, Diann, along with Joyce, became kind of their primary caretakers. They spent many days up on the farm in Cedar Falls taking care of them over a period of years. And it was kind of fitting that the morning Diann had her stroke, her and Dinah had planned that day to go out and visit Joyce, check in on Joyce. Very fitting. One example, a short example of Diann's feistier side, was at PJ's wedding in Los Angeles. And we finished the ceremony and we had to drive to the reception. We had a little time to kill. And Dinah and Dick and Dean and Diann and Craig and I were sharing a car. And we nabbed a bottle of champagne from the bridal party's stash. We got in our car and we're heading up to the Bel Air Country Club. We're driving through these beautiful neighborhoods. We had the champagne, we didn't have any glasses. So Diann insisted we stop the car. She went up to a house, rang the doorbell. We had a couple of attempts, a couple of no answers. And then she finally we see a maid open the door. We see Diann explaining what we needed, and the door shuts. Diann's standing there, the maid finally comes back, kind of opens the door and hands her out 6 solo cups. Problem solved. Another side of Diann, which has already been mentioned a little bit, is that she was a great shopper. She was especially good at helping me spend my money. But she had such a natural, built-in sense of style. And she looked elegant in whatever she wore. She could wear a paper bag, literally, and look great. She could, it seems silly, but so much of my wardrobe is connected to Diann. She either gave it to me, was with me when I bought it, or convinced me to buy it, or I saw it on her and I had to have the same thing. It is just a constant reminder for me, and I think for all my sisters, of the big void Diann is leaving. But I think we all dress a little better because of her. So now back to the family. I'm sure many of you have heard of the infamous Morgan family campout. So there's about 20 years between our oldest brother and PJ, the youngest. And we had kind of started to scatter. So in 1976, our brother Galen came up with the idea of a long weekend family get-together every summer, and it was kind of named the Morgan Family Campout. And in the early years, we did camp, rain or shine. It was always fun, but the food was the highlight. Brother Galen rigged up a rotisserie that ran off a car engine. And one year we had 3 whole turkeys on the spit, and then we had whole pork loins another year. So it quickly became obvious that you needed to take your meal assignment, whatever it was, very seriously, and it better be good. So eventually rain and age drove us from our tents, and it was very fortuitous that Dean and Diann had just purchased their Clear Lake home. So starting, I think the first year was 1989, and then by the early 90s, the lake home was invaded every July by about 50 family members. And Diann loved this weekend. Dean, I don't know, maybe not so much. Diann threw herself into this, planning it. She planned the meal assignments, planned all the sleeping arrangements, and we now had real plates and real silverware and nice wine glasses for everybody. Good food remained a big priority, and over the years we added great wine. Diann and Dean provided all the lake toys, remodeled the house to provide beds for 22, added several refrigerators, there's now 4, and rented a dumpster for our trash. Diann made huge batches of lemon basil gimlets. And until the last couple years when Chris took it over, she made up the golf teams for the hotly contested family scramble. Just a side note on the scramble, It was started as a memorial to Brother Galen, who was a pretty good golfer. Almost everyone participates now. Golf skills helpful, but not required. And there's a wall at the lake house that has several plaques on it. And they have the name of every team, the winning score for many, many years. And there's new potential family members are warned that if they play and their team wins, but they don't join the family, their names will be removed from that plaque and put on the other plaque, which is losers who didn't make the cut. It's already happened a couple of times. Now, I think the golf tournament will honor both Galen and Diann going forward. So this camp out is primarily responsible for how close this big family remains today, in my mind, and especially how close this next generation of cousins are. Diann often spoke about how happy she was that our kids, our nieces and our nephews, spend their hard-earned money and their vacation time to come to Clear Lake, Iowa every summer. It amazes me this event's been going on so long. This year will be the 49th start of the year Charlie was born. And that so many people can get together and have so much fun with so little drama. Dean, Chris, and Allison are continuing the camp out this year, just as Diann would have wanted. And I've already reminded Dean he needs to plant a lot of basil for the gimlets. Diann was truly the family matriarch, the planner, the organizer, the communicator, caretaker, and coach. Her passing has left a huge hole that we're all gonna need to work to fill. Allison, you've done a great job in just planning this event, reaching out to many of us, and my girls have told me how much they appreciate your frequent calls just to check in. Diann would be very, very proud. That's it. Thank you all.
If you haven't noticed, I'm a little sentimental. You know, when Dean and I get together and have maybe one scotch or two scotches and some wine, we go back and tell a story and both of us start crying.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Don't go there.
I don't know. Next is a co-worker, Ellen McGinnis Smith. Here she is. Ellen?
What?
I'm a little shorter too. If I had to use just one word to describe Diann, it would be genuine. When she said or did something, she did so with her whole heart, and she had no hidden motives. And just when I came in earlier today, someone reminded me of how much at Orchard Place, how much like a family we were, and Diann was instrumental in making that happen. She was very creative and a very skilled educational leader. And these qualities, combined with her commitment to social justice and responsibility, equaled what experts call doing good work. And that's in the literature, so you can look that up. These were just some of her gifts to campus school. She was a very special person who was honest, caring, optimistic, bright, and I can't forget this quality, she was fun. Diann was an inspiration to others, and I'm not sure how many of you know this, but because of the way she inspired others, Diann became a real, genuine Olympic torchbearer. Did you know that? Yep. Okay. Citizen torchbearers for the 2002 Winter Olympics, those who carried the torch across the United States, were selected through a nomination process. And one of our teachers, Stephanie, who is here today, nominated Diann for this honor and emphasized that she was, quote, knowledgeable, positive, motivating, calm, and supportive in times of crisis. And these were qualities we all could confirm. The committee must have been extremely impressed because both Steph and Diann were selected to represent the United States. They both received real, genuine Olympic tracksuits, traveled to Omaha, and together carried the torch for the 2002 Winter Games. I'm not sure how far they ran the torch, but what an incredible honor, and such a well-deserved honor. One of Diann's qualities I especially appreciated was her direct, genuine communication style. You didn't have to wonder what Diann was thinking because she told you. I will never forget, and this story is just a little bit embarrassing, but anyway, I will never forget when I officially met Diann. Campus school was finally approved to hire a vice principal. One afternoon, the director of human resources called me and said he had encouraged a very talented middle school special education teacher named Diann Peyton to consider the position and asked if I would interview her. I quickly agreed. I remembered seeing her at a meeting, though I'd never met her. So I went to work and carefully prepared my questions for the interview. When Diann came in, I didn't get an opportunity to ask very many of my carefully prepared questions. Instead, of course, Diann being Diann, she interviewed me. One of her first comments was, "But I'm not sure we could work together." After she explained that she had asked me a question in a meeting and I didn't answer her, I recalled the situation. I explained that Dr. J, and many of you remember Dr. Jeske, had told me that the meeting was up and I needed to close right now. When Dr. J gave a command, we tended to comply. Evidently, Diann accepted my explanation and apology, and we moved forward, and I'm grateful we did. And I never again didn't answer a question she asked me. Diann's support of our school's philosophy of mastery, belonging, independence, and generosity for both students and staff was evident in so many of her actions. For example, at campus school, we didn't have a parent-teacher association. These parent groups typically celebrate the school staff in other Des Moines public schools. So Diann felt that she and I should become the parent-teacher association and show the teachers and associates just how much we appreciated their work. And this was totally Diann's plan. Of course, Diann didn't mean just providing a box of donuts for staff on a special occasion. Oh no, Diann didn't do things in small ways, which many of you have talked about. Instead, on the day before we dismissed for winter break each year, we provided a full spread of treats, appetizers, hot and cold items, both healthy and unhealthy, for staff to snack on all day. Diann was always very professional, both in her words and actions. Actually, even in the way she dressed, which many of us admired. She often wore suits and her loafer shoes and was always well dressed. One of my favorite memories was one day, I believe it was on a parent conference day, a staff member rushed into the office and declared, "There's a little Diann Peyton here." We all looked out the office door, and yes, there was Allison, so very well dressed, just like her mom. We all agreed that she was a little Diann Peyton, and this is a compliment to you, Allison. Even though Diann was so professional, she also sometimes had a more childlike sense of awe and excitement. For example, when the first snow was predicted, Diann made frequent visits to the outside window, exclaiming, "Still no snow. Where is the snow?" The staff definitely didn't want to disappoint Diann. So the next day, when the snow still hadn't come, Diann found her office filled with several inches of white styrofoam peanuts so she could have the snow she was so excited for. Relationships with both staff and students were very important to Diann, and she was a master at forming strong relationships. There were really no specific strategies that I could come up with to create these relationships. She was just a natural. Just by being herself, by being genuine, she let others know she respected them, and they respected her in return. She very naturally followed the respect begets respect philosophy. Diann was also a very good friend. Sometimes we would slip out after school to continue our problem solving. about school issues over a glass of wine or two, with Diann noting we could just put our drinks on Dean's tab. Which of course we did. Thank you, Dean. These relationships were lasting. Diann was one of those people who, even if you didn't see each other for a period of time, when you did, you were both right back where you left off. Being teachers, we all appreciated the gifts of advice provided through children's literature. If Diann were here now, I believe she would say in her direct and genuine way of communicating, and in the words of Dr. Seuss, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." And to all of us, I say, in the words of Winnie the Pooh, how lucky we are to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. And to Diann, I say, you did good work.
Now Barbara Drake from her golf group. I think there's quite a few golf members here. So, Barbara? Now this way, here they come. Where's my sweater?
Hello everyone, I'm Barbara Grief. I'm here on behalf of our little golf group, Vicki Heiken, Vicki Waller, and Libby Stanton, and myself. I know we all have wonderful memories and stories about our dear friend Diann, so I wanted to share a few of things about our golf team and our group. We became friends at various times in our lives. Vicki Heiken and Diann go way farther back than the rest of us, but we all have a few common threads between us. We all are about the same age. We all have kids and grandkids. Sorry. We all have kids and grandkids we'd love to talk and share about. We all love to play golf and a few other sports like bowling, which we all have done on most Thursday mornings during the school years for many years. We all love to eat out together and all love to share a good glass of wine. Diann and Vicki are our Sauv Blanc ladies. Vicki Waller likes her cab, and Libby and I, we like our Chardonnay. No matter what we were drinking or eating, we never ran out of conversation, never ran out of time for each other, always planning our next golf game or adventure together. Our golf days go way back to Wakanda Club. We all started golfing there maybe once a week, and then it turned into multiple times a week, and then we have continued when we all joined here at Echo Valley. Lots of days after a round, we would relax for a few minutes around an outdoor table and talk about all the great drives, chips, and putts we had that day before we headed out for the rest of our busy day. When you spend time on the golf course for 18 holes, you learn a lot about a person. All parts of your personality come out. We all agree that Diann had a wonderful personality. She's always positive, caring, and fun to be around, with her beaming smile, and we loved her glasses. That was Diann on and off the course. One of her famous phrases on the course was, "Damn it, Janet," which she usually used on the putting green. Classic Diann. She fouled her putt all the way to the hole, and when it was just slightly off the line, she would swoop in with that putter, and somehow the ball found the bottom of the cup. Then she would announce another bogue. She always added another stroke to her scorecard, thankfully. Speaking of scoring, Diann could add that scorecard faster than anyone. Those math skills probably came from her teaching days. Another example of classic Diann, if any of us happened to go into a sand trap, which sometimes happened more than we wanted, after any of us got out of the trap, she would announce, "Any out is a good out." We can all agree on that. Diann had a list of 70 things to do in her 70s, and one of them was to get a hole-in-one. That didn't come to fruition, so the rest of us need to work on getting that accomplished, and she will be front and center at our celebration. And as Diann would say, get her done. There's a poem titled "The Dash" by Linda Ellis. It refers to the dates of a person on a person's tombstone. from the beginning to the end. There are a few lines I would like to quote. But, he said, what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved them know what that little line is worth. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. We are proud of how Diann spent her dash. It was spent with love, adventure, sport, friendship, hard work, patience, understanding, respect, and again, much love. We miss you every day, Diann, and damn it, Janet, let's all make a few putts. And yes, it's okay to have another bow. Thank you.
I'm Vicki Heiken, and I'd just like to add that besides being best golf buddies, the Peytons have been close family friends of ours for years. When the kids were young, it was Colorado ski trips, Cancun trips, summer bike trips, and weekends at Clear Lake. Memories of the car topper popping open and ski gear flying all over I-80, to crazy bus rides to old Cancun and buckets of Coronas, to biking and golfing wherever we were. It was awesome making family memories together. And once on a bet from Tom and Dean that we couldn't ski double, Diann and I immediately proved them wrong and popped up out of the lake like pros. Diann had this game called Sharing Whip, where we each had a shared subject she had given us at the table. We all played during meals, learning a little more about each other and getting some good family laughs going. Diann was always ready for travel. Tom and Diann decided where we should go. Dean planned the tours, and I went along. We have cruised with the Peytons to Greece, China, South America, and enjoyed Africa and a safari together. Every trip she'd pack a carry-on with jewelry to match each outfit, and games for us to play during any spare moment. It's not every couple you can spend 3 weeks traveling with and hate to see it come to an end, but it was always that with Dean and Diann. Diann could pick out clothes for me better than I could for myself. She could give me a detailed book review on one she thought I would enjoy reading. She could sing any tune out of the blue. She loved to have a good time. And when she suggested our birthday gifts be consumable, I received her homemade French dressing or pesto, and I made her my homemade crackers or biscotti. She always signed my birthday card with, "Let's play more golf, Vic." A Whitehaven soft long cheers to our good friend. Cheers.
Now to talk about friendship, Bonnie Graver.
Okay, when you go last, sometimes you're going to repeat, but it's not too long. Maybe death isn't darkness after all, but so much light wrapping itself around us. This helpful thought was written by Mary Oliver, who is one of Diann's favorite poets, and if you're one of her friends, you knew that, right? I miss Diann. I must say I'm a little upset at her for leaving us like this, without her. Diann has been my pal for many years. Her wisdom was always shared generously at just the right moments. In our friend groups, we were sometimes wild, often adventurous, and very happy. We knew exactly what we needed to have fun. Our two main groups were important. If we hadn't met in a while, Diann would make sure we'd get our next time on the calendar before we parted. And when we were together, she always had a conversation topic all ready to go for a sharing whip. She made sure everyone had the time to share their perspectives on any given topic. Her cooking was always great, and she would readily share her recipes when asked. Pretty much these recipes would be in our inboxes the next morning, often with a picture or two that she had taken the night before. I'm going to miss her pesto, as others will, her French dressing, and the Marstons she so often gifted us. I have many reminders of Diann in my kitchen because if she found a tool she liked, we each got one. Diann was my rock. She probably was for you too. I expected her to always be there for me, and now she's not. I'll just need to have to remind myself from time to time, using Diann's words. Okay, just buck up, build a bridge, and just get her done. And oh, also, always say I love you.
Obviously, this is going to be easy for me. I am overwhelmed, quite frankly, by the number of people that are here. Truly, I sort of said to myself, if I don't say Diann's name, I'll be okay. I'm not sure about that, but I am absolutely honored that you're all here. I'm humbled that you're all here. It just means a great deal to me, to Chris, to Allison, to Nick, to our 3 grandchildren. It's just wonderful. Thank you. We appreciate the tremendous support. I'd like to say thank you to Jay and Sue. Jay was the token male. And other than no one crying as much as Jay, I think that old adage of male, female emotions are, go out the window. But Jay and Sue have been long time friends. Jay and I go back 70 some years, grew up on a farm not too far from one another, and we always have been good friends. Dinah and Michelle, obviously, thank you. I hit the jackpot when I married into the Morgan family. Excuse me. It took me about 5 years to learn names when there are 10 kids, and I'm talking about just learning the brothers and sisters' names, much less the spouses or kids' names. But it's an awesome family. We've had many good times, and I hope they don't vote me off the island, but they all know that I go with the boat. So, I don't think I'm gonna lose out. Ellen, thank you for your comments as an educator. Diann was an absolutely committed public school educator. And anyway, she had very high regard for Ellen. She had very high regard for many other educators, and I'm going to mention just a few because we have several educators in the group. But she also worked with Don Vetter, who I know is here, and thank you, Don. They worked together at Orchard Place. Marion Ehlers was the principal at Callanan Middle School, where Diann worked for a number of years. And Marion was very encouraging to push Diann into administration. Jerry Conley and Tom Drake, if it weren't for the two of them, they were both principal and vice principal at Irving Middle School, which is no longer there, is in the Model Cities area at the time that it was called, which was the inner city. And Jerry and Tom hired Diann as a home ec teacher. And there was Irving, there is still a group of Irving teachers that get together on a monthly basis. And I feel badly, Diann and I did periodically go, but probably not as often as we should have. But the Irving group was a great bunch of friends. Bonnie and Jim, who's no longer with us, but Bonnie and Jim, we had many great times together, lots of fun. Jim called one time and said, let's go to Dublin for dinner. And quite frankly, we did. And And it was like, why not? Guinness and terrible food. So we did, and we had a wonderful time, and we stayed, I think, 4 days. And the hardest part was remembering which side of the highway we were to drive on. Echo Valley, we're relatively new members out here, as I know several other folks are, but I'd like to just thank Echo for doing an absolutely wonderful job of supporting us. We met with them 2 or 3 times. Marcus, who's the clubhouse manager, Mark, who's the executive chef, and Matt, who's the general manager. They all met with us, and it was enjoyable to plan a terrible event. But thank you to them. They did a great job, and I'm about done. Anyway, I cannot emphasize the importance or how much this celebration means for celebrating an outstanding lady. But, all right, I'll get my stuff together. But we can do more than one celebration at a time. We can multi-celebrate. And that's kind of where I'm at. And so I have, if you will, another celebration in mind. And I would like if Nick and Allison would please stand up. Okay? Don't get all excited. Though you probably can figure out things pretty quickly. Anyway, there's also the celebration of a circle of life. So, let me announce that Al and Nick are expecting a second child. Now, I'm not announcing it to, there's a lot of folks here that didn't know that, other than all the cousins that Allison have, because of course they needed to know first. But a lot of people didn't, and so it's absolutely awesome that I congratulate the 2 of them and Holden. And if they do as well with the next one, we're gonna have just a great $1 million family. But they are expecting their second child in December, and she will be with us for Christmas. So congratulations. Anyway, what a great way to sort of bring this to a close. I do have 2 announcements. Obviously, I didn't intend to have a receiving line, but I was the one that was slowing up everybody in here. It was sort of like, I'm there, how can I leave? But we did not have a sign-in page out there or a book because we knew that would take forever, and based upon the Morgan family, they would like to get to the hors d'oeuvres and the bar faster than anyone else. So we did not have a sign-in sheet out on the table, but we put sign-in sheets on all the tables. And we would love it to know who was here. I believe I have said hello to a lot of you, but if you have not signed it, please do it at a minimum, or if you don't get that done here, we'll have some sign-out sheets on the table on the way out. And the last is that we would like to have you stay, and there are appetizers out there, all paid for. And I'm a little concerned that I might have overdone it with the appetizers, and the bar is still open. I believe we still have wine and beverages and beer and water and Matt, I knew you would be able to tell me. Thank you. So please stay, please mingle. I would love it, and I'm sorry we didn't have enough chairs, but as Diann would say, well, we have legs. So buck up and get over it. And I would just like to say once again that I'm humbled, honored, please. Couldn't say enough good things about everyone being here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for celebrating love and peace to every one of you. So, thank you.